I don't think you guys pay ticket for what? For watch violence, to watch blood, yeah? Not bar fights. All right, that's why. Well, you certainly...
That's the mantra of Carlos Prates, the UFC's rising star, who is convinced that fans crave one thing above all else: violence. And with a UFC record that includes 7 fights, 1 hard-fought loss and 6 wins, all by knockout, he's more than happy to deliver. But to understand the man who isn't afraid to talk to his opponents while dismantling them, you have to go back to a time when he was sleeping on gym floors in Asia, fighting just to survive. This is the story of how a life of hardship forged one of the most exciting, charismatic, and dangerous fighters in the world. For Carlos Prates, the path to the UFC wasn't paved in gold, but in the grit and grime of Muay Thai gyms in Thailand. Born in Taubaté, Sao Paulo, to a single mother, Prates had a difficult upbringing. At 15, his mum took him to a gym to instill some discipline and philosophy in his life. He fell in love with Muay Thai and kicked off a career in mixed martial arts in 2012. His early days were a rocky road, to say the least. Prates struggled, posting a mixed record of 5 wins and 4 losses. He admits he was young, undisciplined, fighting in the wrong weight class, and distracted. After his 4th loss, he made a decision that would change everything. He packed his bags and moved to Thailand, the birthplace of Muay Thai, to completely immerse himself in the art of striking. Life there was anything but glamorous. This wasn't a movie training montage, it was a daily grind for survival. For nearly 6 years, Prates lived as a fighter in the purest sense, spending his days training, competing, and often sleeping on the floors of the very gyms where he bled and sweat. He fought constantly across the Asian MMA and Muay Thai scene, taking fights in China and Thailand. That period was the crucible that forged the fighter we see today. In Thailand, fighting wasn't a nerve-wracking event, it was a way of life. Prates learned to treat fight day as just another day at the office. The hardship stripped away the fear and pressure, leaving behind a man who was simply there to do his job: fight. When Carlos Prates returned to the world of MMA, he was a different animal. The raw talent was now a lethal, polished weapon, and his mindset was unbreakable. He started stringing together wins, and his reputation as the Nightmare grew, a nickname he picked up in Brazil when promoters found it was a nightmare to find anyone willing to fight him. His performances were impossible to ignore. Leading into his big break, he had won 13 of his last 14 fights, with his last 12 victories all ending by knockout. This devastating run punched his ticket to Dana White's Contender Series in August 2023.
Earlier this time, the left staggers him, and that will do it! A one-punch knockout for Carlos Prates!
He seized the opportunity, knocking out his opponent in the 2nd round and earning a UFC contract. UFC CEO Dana White was so impressed he even compared Prates to a young Anderson Silva, one of the highest compliments a striker can receive. But the high praise didn't go to his head. Prates arrived in the UFC on February 10th, 2024, with a quiet confidence and a hunger to prove himself. He debuted with a knockout of Trevin Giles, earning his first performance of the night bonus. It set the tone for what was to come. He followed that with highlight reel knockouts of Charles Radke, Li Jingliang, and Neil Magny, impressively earning a performance bonus for every single one of his UFC wins. He wasn't just winning, he was making a statement. Prates brought a unique charisma to the cage, often talking to his opponents mid-fight, a little mental warfare to go with the physical destruction. In interviews, he was candid and funny, a refreshing personality that fans and fighters quickly noticed. Here was a man with both elite striking and undeniable star quality. The climb to the top is never a straight line. Every great fighter hits a roadblock, and for Carlos Prates, that test came on April 26, 2025, in a main event against fellow welterweight prospect Ian Machado Gary. It was a highly anticipated showdown between 2 of the division's brightest talents. The fight was a grueling 5-round war. For the first time in his UFC career, Prates was truly tested. Gary used a smart game plan, mixing in wrestling to control large parts of the fight. Though Prates mounted a furious comeback in the final round, hurting Gary and hunting for a finish, it wasn't enough. The fight went to the scorecards, and Prates suffered his first UFC loss by unanimous decision. For many fighters, a loss like that, especially after such a dominant run, could be a devastating setback. But for a man forged on the gym floors of Thailand, this was just another part of the journey. He had lost before and come back stronger. This time would be no different. The loss to Gary didn't break him, it educated him. On November 15, 2025, at UFC 322, he stood across the octagon from former welterweight champion Leon Edwards. Edwards, a legend of the sport, used his wrestling to control the first round, but Prates stayed calm and survived. In the second, he came out with that same menacing pressure. Then it happened. A hard, straight left hand exploded on Edwards' chin, and the former champion fell to the canvas. It was over. Carlos Prates had knocked out a man who had never been stopped by strikes in his career, earning yet another performance of the night. Carlos Prates has proven he's not just a contender, but a force of nature in the welterweight division. His journey is a testament to what happens when raw talent meets unbreakable self-belief. If you want to see more stories about the most compelling fighters in MMA, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.